A black man in casual clothes tries to enter a high-tech office building on a Saturday morning. To the security guard, he looked suspicious. To the tech industry, he was the brilliant founder of a billion-dollar company coming to check on his life's work.
Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and a comment before we start to learn more about what happened.
The glass towers of TechNova Industries gleamed in the early morning sunlight as Saturday's quiet settled over Silicon Valley's business district. The 40-story headquarters stood as a monument to innovation, housing one of the world's most successful cybersecurity companies. Most employees were home enjoying their weekend, but the building's sophisticated security system never rested. Marcus Washington pulled his Tesla Model S into the executive parking garage at 8:30 a.m., choosing a spot near the elevator bank. At 38, he looked younger than his years, especially in his weekend attire: faded jeans, a Stanford University hoodie, and worn sneakers. His appearance was deliberately casual. He'd learned long ago that some of his best thinking happened when he was comfortable and unencumbered by the formality of business suits. Marcus had founded TechNova Industries 12 years earlier in his Palo Alto garage, developing revolutionary cybersecurity software that now protected Fortune 500 companies worldwide. The company had grown from a two-person startup to a global corporation employing over 8,000 people. Despite his success, David maintained a hands-on approach to leadership, often working weekends and visiting different departments unannounced to stay connected with his company's operations. Today's visit had a specific purpose. TechNova was launching a new artificial intelligence security platform on Monday, and Marcus wanted to personally review the server configurations and run final diagnostics without the distractions of a busy workday. He had been working on this project for 2 years, and he never left critical launches to chance. The parking garage was nearly empty except for a few cars belonging to weekend maintenance staff and security personnel. Marcus walked toward the elevator bank, his sneakers squeaking slightly on the polished concrete floor. He carried a worn messenger bag containing his laptop and several technical manuals, looking more like a graduate student than the CEO of a billion-dollar corporation. The main lobby of TechNova Industries was an impressive space designed to showcase the company's success and innovation. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered views of the surrounding mountains, while interactive displays demonstrated the company's latest security technologies. The reception area featured sleek furniture and digital art installations that changed throughout the day. Behind the security desk sat Steve Johnson, a 45-year-old former mall security guard who had been hired 6 months earlier. Johnson took pride in maintaining strict building security, especially on weekends when fewer people were around to supervise. He had been briefed on the importance of protecting TechNova's sensitive technology and had developed a reputation for being thorough, sometimes to a fault. Johnson looked up from his newspaper as Marcus approached the security turnstiles. The sight of a black man in casual clothes immediately triggered his suspicions. In his experience, legitimate employees dressed professionally, even on weekends, and most of TechNova's engineers were either white or Asian. This person didn't fit his mental image of someone who belonged in the building. "Excuse me," Johnson called out, his voice carrying an authoritative tone. "The building is closed to visitors today." Marcus paused at the turnstiles, looking up at Johnson with mild confusion. "I'm not a visitor. I work here." Johnson stood and walked closer to the security checkpoint, his posture suggesting he was prepared for a confrontation. "Sir, I'm going to need to see your employee badge and identification." Marcus reached into his messenger bag and pulled out his wallet, extracting his employee badge. The ID card showed his name and photo, but listed his title simply as engineering. A deliberate choice Marcus had made to avoid the pretension of displaying CEO on his everyday identification. Johnson examined the badge suspiciously, holding it up to the light as if checking for forgeries. Marcus Washington, he read aloud, his tone suggesting skepticism. What department do you work in? Engineering, Marcus replied patiently, though he was beginning to sense that this interaction was heading in an uncomfortable direction. Johnson looked at Marcus more carefully, noting the casual clothing and relaxed demeanor. Engineering? What kind of engineering work do you do here? Marcus hesitated for a moment. He could easily resolve this situation by revealing his position as CEO, but he was curious to see how the interaction would unfold. He had heard rumors about security being overly aggressive with certain employees, particularly those who didn't fit traditional stereotypes. I work on cybersecurity systems, Marcus answered truthfully. Johnson's expression grew more skeptical. Cybersecurity. Sir, this is a very high-tech company. Our cybersecurity division employs some of the most advanced engineers in the industry. What's your educational background? The question hung in the air with obvious implications. Marcus felt a familiar tightness in his chest, the same feeling he'd experienced countless times throughout his career when people questioned his qualifications based on assumptions about his appearance. I have a degree in computer science from Stanford, Marcus replied, his voice remaining calm despite his growing frustration. Johnson laughed, a sound that carried more mockery than humor. Stanford? Right. Sir, I'm going to need you to wait here while I call your supervisor to verify your employment. Marcus's jaw tightened slightly. That won't be necessary. I have authorization to be here. Authorization from whom? Johnson demanded, crossing his arms over his chest. Marcus pulled out his phone. I can call someone to verify my access, if that would help. Johnson waved dismissively. Sir, I don't know what kind of scam you're running, but this building contains millions of dollars worth of proprietary technology. I can't just let anyone walk in here claiming to work in cybersecurity. The implication was clear, and Marcus felt his patience wearing thin. What exactly are you suggesting? Johnson stepped closer to the security barrier, his voice taking on a condescending tone. Look, I'm sure you're a nice guy, but this isn't the kind of place where you can just walk in off the street. Maybe you're thinking of one of the warehouses down the road, or perhaps a different building entirely. David stared at Bradley for a long moment, processing the full scope of what was happening. He was being denied entry to his own company by a security guard who had made assumptions based on his race and casual appearance. I'm going to call my manager, David said quietly, pulling out his phone. Bradley snorted. Good luck with that on a Saturday morning. David scrolled through his contacts and selected a number. The phone rang twice before being answered. This is Jennifer Walsh, TechNova Security Director. Jennifer, this is David. I'm in the main lobby and there seems to be some confusion about my building access. Bradley's expression shifted slightly as he heard David speak with obvious familiarity to someone in security leadership. David. Jennifer's voice carried immediate concern. What's the problem? The security guard is refusing to let me enter the building. He seems to think I don't belong here. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Put him on the phone. David extended the phone toward Bradley. She'd like to speak with you. Bradley hesitated, then took the phone. This is Tom Bradley, Lobby Security. Mr. Bradley, Jennifer's voice was sharp and professional. You are currently denying building access to David Chen, the founder and CEO of TechNova Industries. I need you to grant him immediate access and then report to my office first thing Monday morning. Bradley's face went white. He looked at the phone, then at David, then back at the phone. I'm sorry, did you say CEO? That's exactly what I said. Mr. Chen founded this company and owns a controlling stake in the business. He has unlimited access to this building at any time, day or night. Bradley's hand trembled slightly as he handed the phone back to David. Mr. Chen, I had no idea. I'm sorry. David took the phone back. Thanks, Jennifer. We'll discuss this on Monday. He ended the call and looked at Bradley, who was now standing with his shoulders slumped and his face flushed with embarrassment. Mr. Chen, Bradley stammered, I made a mistake. I mean, I assumed. You assumed what, exactly? David asked, his voice calm but firm. Bradley looked down at his feet. I guess I assumed that someone who looked like you wouldn't be, that you couldn't be, that a black man in casual clothes couldn't be a senior executive at a technology company. Bradley's silence was answer enough. David walked closer to the security desk, his demeanor remaining professional despite his frustration. Mr. Bradley, let me share something with you. I founded this company in my garage 12 years ago with nothing but an idea and a determination to solve cybersecurity problems that others said were impossible. I've built TechNova into a billion-dollar company that employs thousands of people and protects critical infrastructure around the world. Bradley nodded mutely, unable to meet David's eyes. But more importantly, David continued, every person who walks through these doors deserves to be treated with respect and dignity, regardless of how they look or dress. Your job is to maintain security, not to make judgments about who belongs here based on your personal biases. Bradley swallowed hard. You're absolutely right, sir. I made a terrible mistake. David paused at the turnstiles, which Bradley quickly activated to grant access. Mr. Bradley, I want you to think about something. If you treated me this way, the person who signs your paychecks, how do you think you've been treating other employees who don't fit your expectations? The question hung in the air as David walked toward the elevators, leaving Bradley alone with the weight of his assumptions and their consequences. David's elevator ride to the executive floor gave him time to process what had just occurred. This wasn't the first time he'd encountered skepticism about his position in the tech industry, but experiencing it in his own building was particularly jarring. He thought about the other employees who might have faced similar treatment, brilliant engineers and developers who deserved better than to have their credentials questioned based on appearance. When he reached his office, David sat behind his desk and opened his laptop. Instead of working on the server configurations he had planned to review, he found himself drafting an email to Jennifer Walsh about implementing new security training protocols. All security personnel need comprehensive bias training, he typed. Today's incident demonstrates that some of our staff are making inappropriate assumptions about who belongs in our workplace. Monday morning brought significant changes to TechNova's security protocols. Jennifer Walsh conducted a thorough investigation of Bradley's employment history and discovered a pattern of complaints from employees who felt they had been treated disrespectfully by building security. David convened a meeting with the entire security team, where he shared his weekend experience without revealing specific details that would embarrass Bradley further. He spoke about the importance of treating all employees with equal respect and announced new training requirements for all security personnel. Our company's strength comes from diversity of thought, background, and perspective, David told the assembled security team. When we make assumptions about who belongs here based on appearance, we undermine the very foundation of what makes us successful. Bradley requested a private meeting with David the following week. In David's office, surrounded by awards and patents that testified to his achievements, Bradley offered a heartfelt apology. Mr. Chen, Bradley said, I want you to know that I've thought about what happened every day since Saturday. I realize now that I let my own biases cloud my judgment, and I'm ashamed of how I treated you. David listened thoughtfully. I appreciate your apology, Mr. Bradley. The question now is what you're going to do differently going forward. Bradley nodded earnestly. I've enrolled in diversity training courses, and I've been reading about unconscious bias. I never want to make anyone feel the way I made you feel. David studied Bradley's face, seeing genuine remorse and a commitment to change. Everyone deserves a second chance, Mr. Bradley, but understand that respect isn't something you give based on someone's title or position. It's something you give because they're human beings who deserve dignity. Over the following months, TechNova implemented comprehensive diversity and inclusion training for all employees, with special emphasis on security and front desk personnel. Customer and employee satisfaction scores improved significantly, and complaints about discriminatory treatment virtually disappeared. Bradley became one of the program's strongest advocates, often sharing his own experience as an example of how unconscious bias could affect judgment. He developed a reputation as one of the most respectful and professional security guards in the building. David continued his practice of visiting the office in casual clothes, but now his interactions with security were uniformly professional and welcoming.